NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
Caution is out. Big pile up in turn number 1. Kasey Kahne in the 5, racing Regan Smith hard in the 78. And Kahne is out of his car, and it's junk. There's Regan Smith in the 78, Brad Keselowski in the deuce, and down on the inside is Kasey Kahne.
Kasey in the 5 and Regan in the 78, they made slight contact, but when they bounced off the wall, this is how fast. These guys are being told, slow down, but you can't. There's nothing you can do when there's a wreck in front of you.
Marcus Ambrose, Kyle Busch, and the 29 of Kevin Harvick. Hard to tell from that angle whether Kahne might have thought he had cleared Smith and moved up in front of him.
I think he was hoping that he had cleared him.
Shows you right there how quick everything happens.
Darrell, there just isn't any way that Regan Smith knows Kasey Kahne's coming up. You know, Regan has it. You see cars side by side on the straightaways here. Regan just made his move, and Kasey Kahne moved up. I think it's shocked. Watch. Regan thinks I got a shot down the straightaway. Kasey says I'm taking that spot. There isn't anything Regan could have done to have prevented that crash.
Yeah, I don't know if Regan maybe even touched the wall and caused him to turn left just a little bit into Kahne, because there was a lot of room there.
And that reminds you of Bristol, doesn't it? One car wrecks and a bunch more is going to join him.
Yeah, you can see the 5 car nose into the outside there with Regan right in his blind spot, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, that's one of those racing deals, as they say here at Bristol, Tennessee. Regan was driving down the straightaway, and Kasey said, good, I got him cleared, I'm moving up, and look what happens.
Cars from 5th through 13th place were involved. Ride with Kevin Harvick.
Stay up. We got back 18 here. We got damage here.
And now Jimmy Johnson's view.
No damage here, boys. He's on the high side. You're clear right now. Good job.
Well, you expect the track to clog up, but when the apron clogs up, that's really tough. Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards are behind the wall. For a fellow who's won 5 times here.
And just has no luck this year. Every time he turns around, he's in something going on, some kind of wreck.
See some damage there on the front end of Regan Smith's 78 car. Right now, pit road is closed because of the apron down in turn 1 and 2's block.
Riding Kasey Kahne.
NASCAR at Fox is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Pizza Hut, order the new $10 dinner box today. And by Ram Trucks, guts, glory, Ram.
30 laps complete at Bristol. Greg Biffles led them all. Carl Edwards behind the wall. So is Kyle Busch, Marcus Ambrose, and Kasey Kahne. Let's go all the way back to 1 lap before this unfolded and pick up the action in turn 2 between 78 Smith, the 2 of Keselowski, and the 5 of Kasey Kahne.
Look right here. Kasey Kahne is way ahead of the 78, but when you get a good run off the high side of the corner, you have so much momentum down the straightaway. There's no doubt in my mind that Kasey got him passed. I'm going to ease up into the groove here and get ready for the first turn, but Regan Smith was there. It just wasn't clear.
All right, let's ride along with Kasey Kahne.
Outside. You're clear on the 78. Clear. Outside. Got hit hard. Still getting hit hard.
I think that pretty much tells us what we were looking for right there.
There's a little bit of latency in the radio transmission to the video, but clearly Kahne was coming off the corner. He was cleared by a spotter, and that is synced. Excuse me. He was cleared by the spotter.
Which I would
have. That is a blind spot. You depend on your spotter.
I would have said the same thing.
Catch up there. Yep.
You know, we saw Kasey was way ahead of 78, but what you don't take into consideration sometimes is just how much more speed a guy has off the corner closing on you, and Casey just moved up a little bit too soon, and there you go.
8 wins among the drivers involved in this accident. 8 Bristol wins. Matt?
Mike, Carl Edwards has just had a chance to look over all the different camera angles. Can you describe the level of frustration so early in the race for this to happen?
Well, I was feeling good this morning. Got up, had my Frosted Flakes, had a ton of energy, and it's frustrating to see this happen. It looks like after watching the replay that looked like Regan was battling with that same thing that we all battle with here. Is should I let him go or should I race? And Casey probably thought he was clear, and that caused that wreck. And I know it didn't look like it, but all the guys, myself included, that ran into him, we all saw it. We were all on the brakes. But Casey's car just perfectly, slid down to the bottom and came up across the racetrack. And it's too bad it ruined our day.
Should have been more courtesy at that point?
I think right now, early in the race, it's time to be courteous. I held up Eric for a few laps more than I should have. It's just so hard. As a driver, you sit in that race car and you don't want to let him go, so I understand.
All right, Dick Berggren?
With Kasey Kahne, with the spotter's call, did you think you were all set, clear?
Yeah,
right there in the bottom.
Yeah, I know what I had. I feel horrible for Farmers Insurance, for Chevrolet, for Quaker State, everybody at Hendrick Motorsports. This is the worst way I could start a season. I have the fastest car every single week, and it's right there. There's no reason to force the issue at all. I'm just taking my time. Just cutting the bottom, simple. And I'm under Regan Smith, like as slow as he was. I knew when my spotter cleared me in the center, I would be clear on exit because he said all clear, good to go. So when I get to the exit, I knew Regan was slow, and then he was back there, and I just I listened too much to my spotter, I guess. But I hate it for everybody. It's really disappointing and discouraging to have as fast a race cars and not have nothing to show for.
Third big crash of 2012 so far, Mike.
There were a lot of folks in the garage thought that would be the driver standing in victory lane today. 6 cars taken out in a grinding turn 1 crash in Bristol. Behind the wall, 5-time Bristol winner Kyle Busch. Marcus Ambrose, heavy damage to his Ford. Carl Edwards, right front damage. And on track, Kevin Harvick, his car being worked on to clear fenders. Also behind the wall, Kasey Kahne and Regan Smith. Trying to get Casey. Now, we expected a yellow at lap 50. NASCAR informed the drivers at their weekly meeting. Competition yellow, so they could make adjustments based on the weather and the rain that came through last. Once the track is cleaned and ready to go, then NASCAR will call that competition yellow, and instead of racing through to the lap 50 mark.
Let's look at this again, because a couple of things stick out of my mind, and Michael might want to jump in here. Casey was way ahead of Regan Smith in the 78 in the middle of the corner. Right here, you're going to see really clears the 78. So right here, Casey says, spotter says you're clear up. But listen, here's one thing that you got to look at. Kasey Kahne was not sure. If he'd been sure, he would have driven all the way out in front of Regan, which is what he probably should have done. But he left enough room in there for Regan to get his nose in there, and that's where the wreck started.
All right, we're going to hear Regan Smith and his spotter, former Truck Series standout Rick Corelli.
5-way on the bottom, half back to the 2. Get a little impatient there. Damn it. Y'all good? Came right up. He didn't have anywhere to, he didn't have us still out there. Yeah, he tried to cut us in.
And that's the two sides of the story.
Right.
He didn't give me any room. The other guy says he came up. Gosh, it seems like we must be at a short track like Bristol.
Casey's his cousin Cole. He's been Casey's spotter for a long time, and they rely heavily on each other. And yes, Casey came up in front of Regan Smith, no question there. But Darrell, you got a huge blind spot in the right rear, and the sidelines at this track aren't that good anyway.
But here's the other thing that you have to consider, no matter which car you're driving. We're 20 laps in to a 500 race. We got 480 more laps to go, and you're out of the race.
You know, with pit road open and 36 drivers on the lead lap, we only ran 20. I think we'll see some drivers fuel only, some drivers right side tires. We may even see some, like A.J. Allmendinger in the 22, stay out.
Dick Berggren.
Jeff Gordon's crew chief, Alan Gustafson, told him he was going to fix Gordon up on this pit stop car. Not been nearly as good as they had hoped for. 2 tires on the outside gas, he's gone.
This is the only track where we have 2 distinct pit roads, front stretch and back stretch. So cars enter off the pits off turn 2 and have to come all the way, regardless of which side they're pitted on.
Might stay out right now if my car was good. If I had a pretty good car, I'd stay out, but let's get them now.
Matt.
Ryan Newman pitting in the first stall off turn 4, right side tires on. Changes. He spent too much time behind the 24.
2 tires for Greg Biffle in the 16. They'll also make a track bar adjustment because he's loose getting into the corners.
A couple of drivers that I saw that did fuel only. Brad Keselowski in the 2, Matt Kenseth in the 17. So just as we anticipated, a lot of different strategies there.
Krista?
A.J. Allmendinger, his team told him this is the competition caution. He said, I'm a little tight in the center, but trust me, they decided to stay out.
7 drivers did not pit. Allmendinger, Martin Truex in the 56, Dale Earnhardt Jr. the 88, Brian Vickers in the 55, Jamie McMurray, Jeff Burton, and Brendan Gaughan did not pit. Let's have a look at the different pit roads here at Bristol and what you are faced with when you pit under.
Well, everyone enters 2 if it's under caution. But if we have a green flag pit stop and you're on the back stretch, you'll pretty much enter turn 2, exit turn 3, and then the same on the front straightaway. But pretty much no matter green or caution, if you're pitting on the back stretch, the good thing is you're going to enter pit road at the same place, and that's off turn 2.
Yeah, and I thought a lot about that, Larry. And if I was me, I would want to be on the back straightaway because that way I don't get confused.
Outside pole sitter A.J. Allmendinger is your leader after this big crash.